All right, this is my race review, race recap of Eagleman 70.3. Took place June 11th, 2023. It was an amazing race, to say the least. Conditions weren't the best, and I can imagine how much more amazing the race could have been if the conditions were a lot better. But when I say conditions weren't the best, it was more so based on the heat. And so the race took place in Cambridge, Maryland. And let me start there. Woke up around 3:30, even though I set my alarm to 4. Got a decent night's sleep for pre-race, right before the race. So normally I don't sleep much, but she got a solid 5 hours, which is great. Maybe 6. I got to the middle school for parking, took the shuttle to the race venue, and was in transition pretty early. I think I left at like 4 o'clock. I was only like 2 miles from the race, but figured I just want to be closer for parking purposes and, for the end of the race. Free parking, of course, so great. Thanks for Ironman, thanks for Eagleman, and for setting that up. Got to transition, set my packet up. I'm part of Team Barlow and Mid-Maryland Triathlon Club, and their tents were right next to each other. So before the race, took pictures, said hello to a lot of other racers and other teammates from both clubs. And, I was just settling in. Didn't do a pre-race swim the day before, just did packet pickup the day before, kept it very simple. Like I said, also spoke to some teammates the day before as well. Just tried to keep it low key. I did this race last year. It's a fun race last year, so it kind of, it wasn't anything new. So I just tried to keep it very simple. And then, so I was seeding myself from the 50 to 55 swimmers when it was time to leave transition and line up for the swim. So I was towards the back of the pack, but when I did New Zealand in March, I swam about a 51, and I figured my swimming was at least up to that, if not better. So 50, 55 was pretty reasonable. And so I waited, so obviously the fastest swimmers go off first, and you self-seed. So I was just waiting. Like I said, I did this last year, so I knew exactly what to expect. And went off. Started swimming, following some feet, following some other swimmers. Tide was moving me a little bit, and I ended up just swimming, just feeling good, just taking my time, not necessarily going for effort or anything like that. Just wanted to go comfortably, but with some effort. When I got to the end, I passed transition, checked my watch, did about 50, 51 minutes. I was actually pretty surprised by that. The way I was swimming, and I had to sight a couple of times, I thought it'd take a lot longer for me to make that. Thought I was gonna be more of like a 55 at that point, but doing 51 for that effort, it was great, because I definitely could have did a sub 50 if I put more into it and my sighting was better. But I caught myself veering off the course a few times. I don't know if it was because of the tide or just the way I was sighting, or lack of sighting at times, or maybe just the way other swimmers were. There was kind of a lot of swimmers in this swim. Got to transition, felt comfortable. I was like, okay, good. Actually, usually when I finish transition, they have wetsuit peelers. Got to the wetsuit peeler. Normally when I'm done, I'm a little tired, so I normally walk to T1. This time I actually did a little shuffle to T1, felt good. Got to transition, tried to dry my legs off. Took the wetsuit peeler helped peel my wetsuit off. Got to, took some hydration, because that's the most important thing for me. I get very hot very quickly, heavy sweater, salty sweater, easily cramping, and I gave myself a mental plan to just focus on hydration mostly for this race. Just mostly trying to get as much fluid as possible. They said the weather was about to get up to 86 degrees, and so I just want to make sure. I think the real feel was over 90 though. Then just want to make sure just hydrating as much as possible. Got on the bike. The headwinds were just disrespectful on the bike, I can tell you that much. Headwinds just started pushing, and I felt like I was doing some good speed. I have a power meter, but I tried to focus on more so the race feel and see what the power is at the end of the race, and see my miles per hour, and I really just tried to go on feel and try not to blow up, because I know when I blow up on the bike, the run is rough. The run is very rough, and I tried that. My one mission for that day, was just to focus on not blowing up. Not blowing up. If I need to be conservative on a bike, I can be conservative on a bike, because if I feel good, especially on a hotter day, I can do better on the run, and I can finish a little bit better. Rather than saving a few minutes on the bike, I'd rather save a lot of effort and potential misery from cramping on the run. So did the bike. Eagleman is a pretty flat course on the bike. Some of the roads were a little rough, some rocky areas, some parts of the road were a little uneven, and they had some cracks and stuff in it, but it wasn't that bad. So did the bike. So first I did the swim in about 51 minutes and I think 21 seconds. It was great. PR for the course. Last year I did it in 56 minutes. Got to the bike, did the course in about 3 hours and 23 minutes. Last year I did it in 3:26, so it was a PR for the bike as well on the course, and I felt comfortable. Like, I could have definitely gotten a lot faster. I think I averaged about 16, close to 17 miles an hour on that, and I actually did it with, it was like pretty much a zone 2 effort. My heart rate was about 150 on the bike, 154 or something like that, which is not bad for me. Normally I'm like redlining at like 160, 170 on the bike, but for that effort, and I actually was pleasantly surprised. I stopped, I think, 4 times, 3 times at aid stations, just to have a front hydration system, so I can just put water in there. So I loaded up with water for that bottle, and then the other bottles had carb and electrolyte mix. So I put 2 scoops of Precision Fuel and Hydration 60 carb mix, and then 1 electrolyte tablet, and 3 separate bottles on the bike. So the front bottle just had water, just to kind of rinse my mouth at times, because some of that electrolyte and carb mix, kind of, especially with a dry mouth, is not the best. But it worked for me. This is the first time I tried it. I had 3 90 plus carb gel packs from Precision Fuel and Hydration. They go down easy. They're nice and smooth. They don't dry my mouth out. And that's the thing, because I sweat so much, I know I get dehydrated very easily. I wanted something that could give me some fuel but not make me feel thirsty. And those worked. So I think I took 2 of those on my bike. One of the aid stations I stopped for bananas. 2 of the aid stations I stopped for, like, they give you like half a banana. Stopped, filled up my water, hydration, ate a banana. Bike, I did not use the bathroom at all on the bike, and that's weird. That's weird for me. Normally, I'm either going on the bike or stopping and going to a porta potty on the bike. Did not stop on the bike at all. I was like, cool. Like I said, finished in 3:23. Felt good about that time. Felt good about my effort. And when I got to the run, I was like jogging. When I got to T2, I started jogging with the bike, and I'm like, I normally just walk. But I was actually doing a little trot. Felt good. I was like, okay. And it was hot. People were suffering. I definitely saw the suffering. And then the run. The run is usually the place that I love the most, but by the end of the swim and the bike, I'm usually I'm cramping. I'm usually cramping whether it's sprint, Olympic, half Ironman, I've always cramped on by the time I got to the run. This time, I felt the cramps coming, but when I got to T2, I ended up just chugging a bunch of electrolyte mix that I had, just finishing off some of the stuff on the bike, and then actually brought one of my water bottles from the bike onto the run. I was like, it's such a hot day, I'm just gonna keep filling this up with water. Didn't take any gels, because they have Morton gels. I like them, but I was okay. Took a 90 gram carb gel pack from Precision Fuel, and I just and a empty bottle, filled it up at the first aid station with ice and water, and every single time I passed the aid station, I walked those and filled it with ice and water and just kept sipping. Every time I felt dry, I just kept sipping, taking and then stopping, getting a banana, and kept sipping, and just kept sipping on this bottle of water. Finish, it's so hot that by the time I would fill with ice at the aid station, by the time I got to the next aid station, the ice was melted for the most part, and the water was done. So I'd use that to keep me dry, put ice on my head, put ice down my back, just try to keep myself cool, because there were ambulances on the course trying to make sure people were dealing with dehydration. I was like, nope, just focusing on my hydration at this point, and it worked. And then I think it was a 2-loop course on the run. Did my first loop, saw some of my friends, other teammates and stuff, high fives and stuff like that, cheering on. The crowd in Cambridge, Maryland is great. There's people spraying water, people playing music, kind of keeping your spirits up, even though it's still a half marathon that you have to run. And so ran there and back, did my first loop, came for my second loop. By the time you get to your second loop, you feel happy because you're like, this is my last loop. I'm almost done. I did the there and back, because I out and back course. So I did the there, my way back. I think I was like, my watch had said I was like, I was into mile, I think I just passed the, no, I just passed the 12-mile marker. I was like, oh, I only have 1 mile to go. I'm good to go. And some woman said, it's all downhill to the finish line. I said, say what? I think I was averaging like 10 or 11 mile per hour. And this time I sprinted. I sprinted this last mile. I looked at my Garmin and said, I did a sub 10-minute pace. Like
Baba, you did it.
9
Here it is. Go get it.
11 second per mile pace on this last mile just to be finished. I was like sprinting. People were like, some guy was like, slow down, big fella. I was like, nope, I'm trying to finish. Zoom, booked it. Finished the race, got some great pictures,
Baba, you did it.
Great energy. I was like,
Here
I felt
Go get
good.
it.
Like, you know, obviously I felt the cramps coming, but I would slow down when I felt them coming and just hydrate and ice myself and cool myself down and then try a little bit more and then ice myself. Whenever I felt it coming, I would just walk it. That's when my pace was a little slower. But the fact that I didn't get a full-on cramp. I felt the cramps coming, didn't get a full-on cramp. This is the first time, especially with a half marathon, a 56-mile bike, 1.2-mile swim, I did not cramp. And I was like, wow. And I actually sprinted. And that's the thing that I'm most proud about this. After doing, you know, close 69 miles, I'm on the 70th mile of the 70.3 and, or the 69th mile into 70th, or however it goes. And I'm sprinting. This last mile of a half marathon, this last mile of a 70.3, I'm sprinting to the finish line. And I had the great finisher pics because I was just like, you know, you always got to smile for the camera. And it was like I said, PR all around.